Yes, nobody calls you a nigger.
Yeah, they do.
Nuts,
Believe me, there's a website called Niggermania that said Kelly Ayotte was proper to throw my nigger ass out.
She wouldn't call you that.
Well, I asked her to repudiate that.
She won't call anybody. You know.
Well, I didn't say she would. I asked her if she would support.
I wouldn't vote for anybody that did.
I just asked her if she would repudiate the support that she's getting from them. That's all I asked her to do.
Of course she would.
Yeah, but she didn't say so. No one does what I do.
No.
Almost no one throughout the whole country goes into courtrooms with the experience of having been a trial attorney, and I've won a number of criminal defense and civil rights cases, settled other ones, lost a couple, that happens. But nobody takes that experience and starts making video in local courtrooms and analyzing what's going on and informing the public. So it's a thankless job.
I don't understand. We don't have free press anymore. That's just in the Constitution. But it's this conglomerate. They've pulled all these press media centers together so that nobody.
Recourse to the laws, and for all injuries he may receive in his person, property, or character, to obtain right and justice freely, without being obliged to purchase it, completely and without any denial, promptly and without delay, conformably to the laws. And that sucker has been on the books unadulterated from the moment this thing was adopted.
Isn't that exciting? Something that has not been touched. Wow.
So people must have not thought it was, because a lot of things got tweaked.
Yes, and that I think is I like the unadulterated. That was a very nice touch there.
It's one of those, there's not too many weasel words. There's the bit conformably to the laws, which I'm not sure I completely grok that, but the bit about free, prompt, real clear.
Very clear. And so free, that is something that I think we need to.
Hilarious.
Yes.
But you're not paying for it.
Well,
you pay taxes.
Yes, we do pay taxes, and that's a whole other there's a whole topic in that Pandora's box. But let's jump right in and introduce our guest.
Christopher King, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
now,
it's a pleasure.
We became aware of you some time ago. You've been doing a whole lot. And for folks who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, absolutely. I run a main portal named KingCast.net, and off of that portal there are a number of journals that I have, most notably Chris King's First Amendment page and the Kelly Ayotte Senate blog. And those are the two journals that I do most of my work on, although there is a new one now that we have, Mortgage Movies, and that's also mortgagemovies.blogspot.com. So those are all spun from the same portal, and we'll talk about those domains as we go along today.
Okay, now of course, the First Amendment is always fascinating, interesting, in the press, this and that, but you mentioned Kelly Ayotte.
Yes,
and I'm particularly interested in our new senator, our senator-elect, because I was the person who took out a domain name, notayotte.com. I was really hoping that the Republicans would choose someone else in the primary, sort of anyone else. So I'm glad to hear that the eye is still on our senator-elect. What's she been doing?
Well, there are a lot of things that she's been doing. Most notably right now, I think the head of it is all wrapped up in the lawsuit that I have against her right now. I have a free press.
You have a lawsuit against our upcoming New Hampshire senator?
Indeed, I do. And the nature of this lawsuit is grounded in our right to know. It's grounded in the free press, and there's a bit of racism thrown in there for good measure.
What is the allegation?
Well, essentially what the GOP has done throughout her campaign season was on 3 separate occasions they threatened to arrest me for attempting to cover these events as a journalist. And their first rationale was that you're not a journalist. Okay, so I disproved that. I worked for daily newspapers and edited a statewide weekly newspaper before I went to law school. So that didn't avail them much. So then their next argument was, well, these are on privately owned areas, and that's it. You have no recourse because it's private property. And that doesn't really cut the mustard either. If you look throughout the federal jurisdictions, there's no case like this that ever happened in New Hampshire. They call that a case of first impression. There was an example here in New Hampshire, the case that they keep citing to, K versus Democratic Party. Mr. K was a homosexual who wanted to join, he had a point to make, and he wanted to join in at the Democratic convention or something at one of the colleges here, but his attempt was to sit on the dais. He wanted to speak. So that was, in effect, disrupting the flow of what was happening there. I don't seek to do any of that. So my case is most analogous to a series of cases out of Baltimore, I believe they are, of Maryland, the NAACP versus Ku Klux Klan cases. And in those instances, the bright line that's being drawn here is that it's a balancing test between private property interests and the right of the public to know and the right of the press to gather information. So those cases held that blacks from the NAACP could attend these all-white rallies, which essentially these rallies are here in New Hampshire. Yeah, they are. I didn't see another black face there except a guard. So he was able to attend the NAACP rallies, to attend and report. That's it, and that's all I seek to do.
Wow. So,
right.
So this is really interesting that your case is most notable and most substantial when you draw from a case for the Ku Klux Klan. And that is that's very bizarre. I don't think we've ever covered this on our show.
We've never talked about the Ku Klux Klan.
No, I don't think so. Well, this is history in the making. So, and in the same breath, Kelly Ayotte, our new senator, our senator-elect,
Right.
It seems who was previously the Attorney General.
Correct.
So should probably be aware of the legalities with preventing press the right to know and to seek information for public use, as well as enabling and engaging someone, even if it is private property. I mean, she's not a private citizen at this point.
Well, technically
right?
she was because she was out of office, but again, she's always a heavyweight Politico because they put her there. But again, it's interesting that you bring up the whole issue of right to know, because the governing statute here, RSA 91A4, I believe it is, I've litigated through that statute in the Franconia shooting tragedy and discovered a lot of things in that were cover-ups by the Ayotte administration. If we recall, Kelly Ayotte closed this double homicide in 24 hours when a multiple felon named Gregory Floyd shot and killed Lee Kenny. After Lee Kenny had shot Bruce McKay, Corporal Bruce McKay, as he was in the process of violating known protocol for pursuit and OC spray up there in Franconia a few years ago. But I digress. Let's come back to the general problem that Kelly Ayotte has with right to know. She's horrible. As we know, she destroyed the emails, or attempted to destroy the emails that had to be recreated from the hard drives recently. Jeff Grapponi, one of her campaign walks, said that, oh, this is just an election year stunt, was what he said. The lawsuit was over that. She has been reprimanded a number of times on ethics and right to know disclosures. There was never any 2006 annual report issued under the Right to Know Act that is mandatory, and that's under her ambit, that she should have taken care of that. And then, of course, you have the FRM Ponzi scam, which is the biggest consumer fraud case in New Hampshire history, happened on her nickel. And now she's, meeting with people involved with the Grand Caymans, and she's, gone to Washington now. So I don't think she's a good choice for that. But to return to the lawsuit, it's just symbolic of everything that has gone on in the history between Kelly Ayotte and me. The NAACP, when I was legal chair of the NAACP here, she attempted to have me prosecuted for attempted felony extortion for exposing police abuse. And
oh, how interesting.
Oh, it was terrifying. Actually,
was this abuse?
Yes. I wrote a demand letter on behalf of a young man named Willie Toney, who faced 3 drawn police firearms and a visual body cavity search for loitering out there in Jaffrey, New Hampshire.
But for loitering?
You heard me right.
So was he threatening another person's life or property?
No, actually he was he was urinating behind a car parts store.
Well, I know that car parts stores in general frown on that kind of thing. He may very well call the cops, but why the response at that level? Surely something happened.
Well, we don't really know. All I know is here's the police report I'm looking at. Why did you do this to this man? So I wrote a demand letter for them.
Okay.
Kelly says, oh, and Chief Dunn, Martin Dunn.
Because I don't know what's a demand letter.
Demand letter says, look, you guys did something wrong to this person, and now you need to make him whole. You could imagine.
Acting on his behalf in this case as his lawyer?
No, not as his lawyer, but as someone working for a civil rights association or organization.
NAACP.
Okay.
Right.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that the
organization can ask for this public information.
Right, and then make that kind of demand or request of a public official. This is this is imperative.
That's where 91A comes into play, I assume.
Not so much with that. The 91A comes a little bit differently for that, but
so you want to know, like, hey, how did it get to this? Hey guys.
No, we were telling him, no, you need to pay this man because of what happened.
Oh wow, okay.
Right?
So this is like a redress of grievance at the civil level rather than going to the legislature.
Right, it was directly to the police.
Yes, right. Very interesting. Okay, so yes, and
we went directly to the police using our First Amendment rights as guaranteed through NAACP versus Button and a whole panoply of cases that.
And the First Amendment.
Right, exactly. All stemmed in the First Amendment and the NAACP through years of litigation. I wrote the demand letter. Kelly says, "Oh, you're not licensed anymore. You can't write that."
You're not licensed?
The licensed attorney.
As an attorney.
Right.
Oh,
so,
okay.
And I says, but here's the point, guys. You don't have to be an attorney to write a demand letter.
Right, because you were working on behalf of the organization,
well,
which she understood, because you wrote it as the director of NAACP, right?
Right, or you could write a demand letter, or you could write a demand letter, or you could write a demand letter.
This is a service that the government is supposed to do to any citizen. It's just that 99.99% of citizens have no idea how to do this.
Right, that they could do that. Right, so of course. And I didn't sign the letter as ESQ. I signed it as Juris Doctor, which I am. And I sent it off. And would you know that that issue never got investigated whatsoever, but I got indicted by Kelly and her friend Martin Dunn, who's since been fired. Kelly brought up a bogus case of unauthorized practice of law that was dismissed. Along the way, she violated my civil procedure.
Why is she sending resources attacking you for filing this stupid piece of paper? What's the matter with her?
Well, see, now you've hit to the nugget of it. This is the core. This lawsuit, and their zealous defense of this lawsuit, and by the way, the case number is a civil case in the New Hampshire District Court 501, 2010 case. Just the other day, just last night, I filed a number of memoranda in opposition to their motion to dismiss. I also filed for disclosure because all the lawyers and the judge, they all work for the same law firm, McLean and Graff. So I also filed that, and I filed the motion for sanctions because their arguments are sanctionable. We'll get there.
Sanctions? That sounds like bad things happening to a person.
Well, probably not to them because they're a big law firm, but I'm just bringing attention to the fact that they're doing wrong and they're making bogus legal arguments. They were truncating what I really said in my pleadings and gerrymandering things out and then presenting that to the court. So in essence, I'm telling the court, look.
So they were piecing apart what you wrote and they were taking it out of context.
Basically.
In simple
terms,
right?
Yes.
Just so that people know, because these are great words, gerrymandering, and but we want to just kind of keep it so that everybody's on task with what has happened.
Right.
So keep going.
And the easiest way to explain it is to say, look, the defendants have to litigate the case that's presented to them, not the case they wish was presented to them.
Right. Yes.
That's the issue.
Right. Okay.
So, and the reason why this is happening, the reason I'm getting this kind of pushback, is not that they necessarily fear me, although I have caused Kelly a lot of consternation and litigation because of what I've done, and lawyers have filed suit on behalf of Legal Kenny largely because of my research. But the point is that the GOP, as a national model, may have some policies in effect to deal with the onslaught or the uprising of populist media. They can't have this media out of your backpack thing coming in there with reporters who are not lapdog media. That's the issue. And so the lapdog media, you should see these guys. They look at me with disdain when I dare to ask Kelly a question that ruffles her feathers or anything of that nature. And I'm asking her legitimate questions. So
one does expect the role of the press to be to challenge those who are running the government and any sort of power center and ask hard questions.
Well, not in this world. No, you don't understand. We don't have free press anymore. That's just in the Constitution. But it's this conglomerate. They've pulled all these press media centers together so that nobody, anybody who works, anybody who works for those big corporations. Well, anybody who works for those big corporations better not ruffle anybody's feathers who's not on the list of feather ruffling.
Apparently not. So what's the current status of
so
this entire channel?
they're really upset with you guys, huh?
Oh,
and probably we're on that list too, but who cares?
You are today.
Yes, we don't do what you do. We try to inform as best we can, but you really get out there and push the information.